Good evening, good afternoon, good night, good evening. Welcome to the Reel McCoy, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Meffistoe, and with me, my hetero life mate, Oh My Feelings. Good evening, sir. Good evening, good evening.
Hello,
you can't
buddy.
hear the audience in the background roaring with glee and joy. How have you been, my good sir?
Doing good. How you doing, bud?
I'm good. What is the Reel McCoy? The Reel McCoy is your book/movie club where we go out, watch a movie together, and we come back to the Reel McCoy and we discuss it, break it down, talk about what we like, what we didn't like, scenes that we love, directors that we love, performances that we loved or disliked. Oh, and dislikes is going to come next week. We're going to discuss that maybe later at the end of the podcast. During the podcast, we're going to do a little bit of segment to break away the monotony of us talking for a couple of hours with some little segments that we like to call Have No Name with Posters and Have No Name with Picking Out Movies. Until then, my good friend, this week we are discussing Demolition Man from 1993. Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes. A movie that when it came out, it was very much action-y movie, another action movie with Sylvester Stallone, one of many during the 90s. And nowadays, it has a lot more meaning. By the way, even back then, I was like, maybe not back then, but when I grew older, like 98, 99, I was like, there's something extra here that I kind of like how they did things. All right. Before we get into the synopsis, any words on the movie from you?
A couple of quick things. It's really funny that originally, when we get to it, there was no sequence. The first sequence that was shot during 1996, that's originally was not actually in the script at all.
1993.
No, 96. 96. The
scene in 96.
Yeah.
Okay,
that was actually not in the script at all. They originally started the original script at it, so when John Spartan was being brought out of cryo was when the movie started.
Okay.
So there was no frame of reference of what happened before that. So that's a good take the granted, you know, for this being a 1993 popcorn action film, it's almost 2 hours, which is really long for a film at that time.
Yeah, I think it's 145 runtime. I think
something like that, roughly.
Yeah, it's 145 runtime.
But imagine taking like about a good 20 to 30 minutes off of that runtime, and that's what the original script was.
Yeah, so it's basically a 90-minute action movie.
Yeah,
basically
which is what it was.
90-minute action movie. Yeah, I would say that's very usual for the time. Very usual for the time.
Yeah.
All right.
The other thing I wanted to add in there is the funny things is that Steven Seagal was originally cast to be John Spartan.
Nice.
And
very
you know who's gonna play Simon Phoenix?
No.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yes, I would say
that's who they wanted.
Yes, it would have been a massive flop. For reason
Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme in the same.
Anyway, the production team was spearheaded by Joel Silver, and from what I've seen and from what I've done a little bit of digging, he did not like to work with either Snipes or Stallone, which is weird because Joel Silver has done a lot of action movies, and I think he done a few with both of them throughout his career. Maybe it's something to do with this specific movie, but we don't. I really haven't done much like deeper dive into that. All right, so the synopsis. Actually, super simple. John Spartan and I forgot the name now. I've got it written down. Simon Phoenix. John Spartan is after Simon Phoenix, a drug lord slash drug syndicate guy. He apprehends him, but John Spartan has a knack of destroying things while trying to get his man. Yeah. When he gets Simon Phoenix, we discover that when the building he was in collapsed, there was a bus with hostages that everybody got killed. And of course, John Spartan is going to pay the price. So both of them are going to be the first prisoners in a brand new cryo prison. Apparently in 1993, they figured out cryo prisons, although in 2021, we still haven't figured that out yet. But
don't remember being that advertised anywhere.
Exactly.
And also like, where is this non-rampant gun violence?
Exactly. So cut to 2032 after a big earthquake. The Los Angeles, San Bernardino, Santa Barbara, and San Diego metropolitan are going to conjoin into one, sort of like a mega city one.
So it's like, guess what? Guess who's also in a movie with the mega city in it?
Yeah, 2 years later. Anyway.
Actually, no, two people, actually. Sylvester Stallone and Rob Schneider.
Oh, Rob Schneider, of course. How can I forget? So we've got Mega City 1, basically in San Angeles, has got under a new administration where everything is clear, everything is, let's say, disinfectant from violence because of behavioral structuring and laws and such whatnot. And of course, Simon Phoenix gets loose. And the cops don't know how to deal with him, so they bring out John Spartan. That's basically the first 40 minutes of the movie, which is insane. And from there on in, it gets weirder, crazier, and whatnot. So the first scene, because we're kind of trying to change up how we do the podcast, the first scene I want to discuss is when Simon Phoenix breaks out of prison. How does he do that?
I did want to go back real quick, for that one shot for for the 1996 for the frame of reference there, because there are a couple good lines that are callbacks later on. First and foremost, I want to know how the hell John Spartan got charged with involuntary manslaughter for that. It was completely beyond his control, and also they just randomly believed Simon Phoenix. They're like, "Oh yes, this wanton mass murderer who's committed these horrible atrocities." Yeah, he said that John said, "Oh, well, I don't care. I'm only here after you."
Yeah. Also, there's another
Really?
thing called, I don't know how far into forensic science, but in 1993, there were no DNA testing yet. If somebody was already dead,
They can
and
determine
then the
time of
building
death.
collapse on them, they can determine if the body died in the fire or not, due to the fact that when you cut up the body, you can see if somebody inhaled fire, like smoke or fire, and it would have been blistered throughout the neck. So that's how they can prove. So putting that aside,
There was that. The only thing that I want to mention about that is just the bungee jump scene, because it is by far one of the most dangerous stunts ever committed to film.
Yes. And it was actually done by a stunt person. Done by a stunt person, which
they actually had to apply
insane.
a decelerator to have the bungee cord not repel him back up and into the blades of the helicopter.
I've read about that too. I've read about that too.
That's just, it's really cool the way they do that though. And then
it's very much Joel Silver production. Joel Silver was basically Jerry Bruckheimer before Jerry Bruckheimer
was
Jerry Bruckheimer.
Yeah. The other line that comes back at the very end is when Simon says yes, which is another one, but this is a different connotation here. When Simon tells John, it's like, kind of cold in here, isn't it?
Yeah. No, he says, "Is it hot in here or is it just me?" And it comes back around.
He goes,
at the end. Is it cold in here? Or is it just me? Yeah, I'll pick that up. By the way, we're gonna jump forward and backwards. This podcast is all about you went to see the movie, came here, and we'll nerd out on it. Nerd point number 1: did you or did you not notice who the captain was, who yells at John Spartan?
No, I didn't.
He is the captain from Lethal Weapon. Same actor.
Which is funny because
a shock to me.
Oh, which is funny because the original screenwriter actually used Lethal Weapon as a frame of reference.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. And there's a Lethal Weapon poster actually in Sandra Bullock's office.
Lethal Weapon poster inside Lenina Huxley's like modified office, which is when you watch things critically,
tiny
you catch
little
up on these
details,
tiny little, like I would say a sort of a not eggshell,
Easter eggs.
These Easter eggs. Oh man, so good. All right, so moving forward, the scene where Phoenix escapes because the warden was already annoyed with him, even though we're supposed to be living in a time where everybody's nice to each other. He's very annoyed and very impatient with Phoenix, and he was like, "Oh, do you have anything to say for yourself?" And he was like, "Teddy bear," and he's out, and action ensues, and he runs away. Now that comes, I'm harking it back to later, where they say that when every cryo prisoner is getting bioengineered into getting rehabilitated, and they find his specific tendencies, and they basically enhance that with giving them things that are productive. For instance, John Spartan
becomes a knitter.
Becomes a seamstress. He becomes a seamstress.
That's stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And when he discovers it, he's annoyed by it for some reason, because
he's the macho machismo kind of guy, where he takes offense to the fact that it's like, oh, well, I now I enjoy this ladylike activity. That's what it was really supposed to be. That almost kind of
we're talking in the perspective of 1993. You know, so also in 2021, it's not really considered a guy profession, but there are guys who do knitting.
Yes.
They are guys who do like tailoring and like designers. Oh, hello.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Simon Phoenix, instead of getting the rehabilitation, he gets a sort of like Matrix style combat and electronics and he gets to be like even more dangerous.
The thing was, it had to be something that had to be overridden when the person in power at the time gave him all of that knowledge, because no one else, like, they had to have overwritten whatever they were doing for his rehabilitation, because otherwise I wouldn't imagine that they would have given him any kind of enhanced abilities whatsoever. Any modern person, anyway. In 1996 at the time. The leader at that time wanted him to go back to kill that one rebel leader, so he implanted all that knowledge to make sure that he gets the job done. And he also puts that imperative in his mind. It seems
very recent. The rehabilitation program that Phoenix had was a very recent thing, because Edgar Friendly, the one that Raymond Cocteau wants to get rid of, is we'll call it a recent menace, because it only happens after, like, we'll call it the Cocteau plan. So the plan to get rid of anything that is bad for you, that everybody should be nice for each other, nobody should do like all those
very
things.
1984 fascist.
Very 1984 fascism in the guise of non-fascism, which is something, again, you said it wasn't written to be like that, but in our eyes, when we see it today, it's very, very much like that. We can see it in today's media, but we'll get through it. Anyways, so Phoenix escapes, and I want to.
Oh, the other thing about that is he says his first big funny joke in that one. He goes, "Simon says die."
Yeah, Simon says die, and it's a part of his shtick, because it also was when he encounters John Spartan. So cut to, of course, we've got a little bit of background with Lenina Huxley and how the police works, but cut to Simon Phoenix gets to the payphone, and this is where
the CompuChat. Oh, this is my favorite scene of the whole movie, by the way.
Okay,
I love this.
Go ahead.
So he's in line behind someone who is apparently, like, this man's depressed, and he's like, well, I don't feel good about myself, and I don't think anybody cares about me. Well, and this CompuChat is basically telling him, oh, well, you're a good person. Everyone loves you. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. So then as Simon approaches it, the CompuChat first tells him, oh, you look very nice today.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You express joy feelings, blah, 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 blah. It's like, and
then all of a sudden, like,
he not even comprehend.
He has no idea how he knows this, but he just starts hacking it.
Yes. So that's where his programming, his rehabilitation comes into play, because he was like, it's like, ooh, I'm possessed. He even says it, I'm possessed. What happened? And he's like, oh, where's this guy?
I wonder if I can play the accordion.
Oh, yeah. He says, I wonder if I can play the accordion too. And the whole point, and that's where we get the first kind of, the little tingling, the little spidey sense of, don't you have a job to do? Don't you have someone to kill? It's like, oh, this is it's getting interesting. It's not just a prison break. And he taps in and he gets a picture of Edgar Friendly. I wanted to say not Lowry. God damn it with names. This week,
but it zooms it, like, his vision kind of like zooms in on Edgar Friendly's, Dennis Leary's character's eye, and he just sees a skull there. It's like, die, kill.
Yeah. So it's very much like, oh, this is not like, and this is before we know about his programming, because we only know about his programming while, like, after John Spartan gets released and then joins the ride. Anyways, so the cops show up.
No, and he goes, then he goes, oh, damn. And it gives one, you have been fined 1 credit.
Yeah, and he was
out.
like, fuck you. And he
goes,
gets fined
oh,
again.
fuck that.
Yeah, he gets fined because, and after he gets the second one, because the second one says we've alerted the police. And the second after that, it was like, you hear the sirens, and he turns around and says, fuckers are fast too. So another one. We get this scene, and this scene
there was a scene too when he escaped from prison where they had initially had the first 187 call that they had ever had since 2010.
Yeah.
Which all the cops were like, what the hell is a code 187? Yes. It's a murder, death, kill.
And what happens is, because these cops are basically desensitized from violence, they get a surveillance camera in the prison showing the warden basically dies in front of their face. And most of them are super shocked. And
we're police officers.
Rob Schneider,
we're not prepared to deal with this kind of violence.
No, that happens when Simon Phoenix attacks.
Yeah, I know.
But when they watch the warden die, Rob Schneider actually hurls. It's off camera, but he hurls because they can't handle it.
Yeah,
they literally can't handle it because they haven't seen violence of this sort. Well, some of them haven't, but yeah. So because they're not used to violent criminals, we have this cop with.
So what do I do here?
Yes, what do I do here? And he gets an instruction thing. Now, I want to get to a point where it harkens back to that video I linked to, and it will be in the comments section down below, breaking down the politics of Demolition Man done by Sargon of Akkad. Whether or not you want to watch it or not, it's interesting regardless of your let's say political views. It's a good watch.
It is a good watch.
But he said something in that video that I didn't think about it when I didn't think about it back then. But yeah, this movie actually predicts a lot of the stuff we have today. iPads, video chats, CCTV everywhere in important places like we have today, facial recognition, auto drives, all that, like automatic seat adjusting, all that stuff is like for 1993 is like super advanced stuff that they've thought about. Also a phone with a display, because when John Spartan goes to his house, you've got the big screen phone where somebody made a naughty call.
Yes,
but
the one
when the call actually patches through, it's like 2 frames. It actually appears on his on the phone that is resting on the side on like a little like you see today when you like grab it in your I don't know, on your vehicle or your car, that you slide it in and it's like it stands there when you drive. Mm-hmm. It's a little thing, but it appears on that little thing, which is basically a phone with like a screen on it. Anyway, I'm brabbling. So we've got this cop trying to arrest Phoenix.
We still haven't gotten that whole like 3 seashells thing down yet.
We'll get to that. That's, by the way, that's the next scene, because
I know.
So he tries to arrest him, and Simon says, "Fuck you." And he was like, "The perp is non-compliant. Tell him again."
That wasn't a quote. He's actually just referring to Simon, the character, says that.
Yeah, exactly. And he says, "Get on the ground or else." And the "or else" triggers Simon Phoenix into action.
Because you got that look on Wesley Snipes' face, is like, or else what?
Yeah, exactly.
Or else what? What are you gonna do?
Exactly. And this is what he does.
Just beats
He
the
just
ever-loving
walls them.
hell.
First, he activates like the anti-graffiti
Graffiti guy. Yeah.
wall, like, and gets one cop, and then he just throws him down all over the place. And of course, he gets the glow rod and he literally smashes it through the camera, and he's gone.
Yeah.
He is
The last thing
gone.
he does is he takes the top off of one of the cars where the battery jack is, and then he puts the glow rod in it so it'll overcharge it and makes it explode.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you do with a criminal, an old criminal? You get an old-fashioned cop to do it, and they get that from a guy called Zachary Lamb, who was the chopper pilot when Spartan jumped into the thing. But again, if you said that the whole scene wasn't supposed to be there, yeah, you can take it out of the movie and not really hurt the rest of the movie. But yeah, I would say meeting Zachary Lamb when he was young and then meeting him when he was like super old. I guess so.
I'd say the only thing that would be missing from that is the inherent antagonism between Simon Phoenix and John Spartan, because it wouldn't have existed before that.
Yes,
it would just be John waking up, because none of that stuff with Simon Phoenix beforehand setting him up as an antagonist would have not existed whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. So John Spartan wakes up, and of course he asks for a cigarette and
a Marlboro.
I'm sorry,
Marlboro?
a Marlboro. I'm sorry. It's very hard to say that word.
That's the way he gruffly says, like a Marlboro, because he's pissed off. He's like, well, any cigarette. Oh, we don't. Anything that is bad for your health is illegal.
Exactly. So, and of course he gets up and they tell him that Simon Phoenix is awake and wreaking havoc. And he's like, fuck, shit. And of course he gets fined 1 credit.
Gets fined. It's like, and also, everyone you've ever loved is dead.
Oh yeah. It's like, what about my wife? Oh, she's dead. What about I had a daughter. Well, if you really want to, we can tell you. Fuck it. No. Yes. So he wakes up, and I want to get to that part. And
side note, by the way, for anyone who did that, because originally when this film was screened, they thought that Sandra Bullock was his daughter, and that's why the sex scene was really creepy, which obviously that's incest and it's super fucking creepy. But no, she's not.
I never heard that theory.
And it was also considered a kind of a cinema trope for a long period of time that she was actually his daughter, which no, that's not the case whatsoever. Actually, there was supposed to be a scene with his daughter in it, but they cut it for time, and she was actually going to be one of the scraps.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. One of the scraps?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm trying to get to a specific spot, so I'm forgive me for this.
To the point of rampant cursing, though, just for a little caveat there, he does do a lot of rampant cursing when he tries to use the restroom, because I don't know if we should tell you this or not, but you guys are out of toilet paper. Primitive ape man. So,
yeah.
No, back then they used to use wads of paper to clean themselves. Like, oh, he doesn't know how to use the seashells.
Exactly.
So he walks over to the morality screen and just
no. I thought it was exactly after that. After seeing it again, he first sees Zachary Lamb. They talk, and he curses because that's how hetero males bond. That's what Lenina Huxley says. And he's like, wait a minute. And he goes to the machine like we see in this, and he keeps cursing. And it's like, so much for the 3 seashells.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. I was like, and to this day, the 3 seashells are a staple of things that are just there, and nobody knows shit. Nobody explained it until this. You have a theory.
Do you want to know where they got the idea from?
No, tell me, please.
So the screenwriter was trying to think of a way to make things seem futuristic, right? So
Okay.
he was talking to one of his screenwriting partner at the time, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't know. After I left the bathroom, like near the sink, there were 3 seashells.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it. That's it. That's
And
where
they
it
just
came from."
put it in the
And
movie.
like, there was no reasoning behind it whatsoever. It's just like, you fucking figure it out.
It's like a postmodernist take on why do we have to have potpourri in the bathroom other than the smell? That's about it, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna do a pause here, and we're gonna go for our first segment of the night. The non-text posters. I still haven't found a good name for that. It sucks. All right. So in this first segment, what we do is we break off the podcast, or we break up the breakdown of the movie. And what I do is I put on the screen posters without their text, posters that came from promotional or whatever. They have their text off, and all my feelings, and you right here in the chat can guess which movie this came from. This week, it is medium to hard. I'm saying right now, it is medium to hard. I'm guessing that at least 4 of these movies you have not seen. At least 4 of these movies, I'm guessing you haven't seen. So if it's too difficult, and if it's too difficult for the chat, I'm going to go through them now. So let me just set it up, please. There we go. Up here and down here. Okay. First movie is this.
You punch in.
Sure.
I have not the slightest idea.
Okay. This is called Batteries Not Included. It is I think it's a Steven Spielberg produced or directed. It's about aliens that come into a building that is condemned, and there's an interaction there with the people who live in the building. It's a very sweet movie.
I think I may have seen that.
By the way, like I said, the movie is called Batteries Not Included. In the Hebrew kind of translation, it's called Miracle on 8th Street. Beats the hell out of me how they got to that, but
that's whatever. The weirdest fucking translation I have ever heard. Is that exactly. This is Crocodile Dundee?
That's Crocodile Dundee.
That's Dick Tracy.
Dick Tracy, nice.
Firestarter.
Firestarter.
It's a good Stephen King book too.
Do you want me to punch in? It's a little bit.
It's not the Langolier. It's Flatliners.
Flatliners. Cool, man. You're good. Yeah. You're awesome.
That's a good movie. Oh shit. Fucking Renee Russo. God damn you.
I don't like her. I never liked her.
No, you got me on this one. No.
Outbreak.
I should have known that.
This one is difficult, but I'm sure you've seen it.
That's supposed to be the Manchurian Candidate?
No.
That's the way with the juxtaposition between the two.
No.
Like it.
No. Can you tell who this is, by the way?
No.
It's very hard to know.
Can I ask for who that is?
That is Jeff Bridges.
Holy
the young Jeff Bridges.
Shit.
This is 1 or 2 movies after Tron. Original Tron.
No.
Starman. Very, very good movie. I think you would cry at the end of it. Because I know you.
I like this movie a lot, and I'm going to catch
I know, me too.
It's Swordfish.
It's Swordfish.
It's Jet Li.
It is Jet Li. Do you want me to punch in? It doesn't help.
No, but what Jet Li film? I don't know because I'm not really versed in a lot of his films,
I
unfortunately.
I guessed as much. It's called The One.
The One.
Not
Okay.
really, not a particularly good movie with Jet Li.
Yeah.
Because he can't act.
We talked about this. The fucking Rocketeer.
It's The Rocketeer. Yeah, it is a horrible movie. A horrible, horrible Disney
I actually
movie.
enjoyed it.
I know a lot of people
But
did.
Jennifer Connelly looks. Oh, Jennifer Connelly, what a smoke show! Oh my god.
Yes, dude.
What a gorgeous woman.
This actor was supposed to have this role. I don't even know his name, but I remember he was supposed to be like being launched into the stratosphere, and the movie just
also
bombed.
Did this come out like the same weekend as Dick Tracy or like right near it, and that's the reason why it bombed?
I do not know, but this movie bombed, like mega bombed for Disney.
It did.
And for a long, long time, they did not want to do any comic book movie whatsoever. Like no. I'm pretty sure it's a Disney movie.
It is Disney, yeah.
All right.
So that wasn't too bad.
Yeah,
there was some there that like I should have known Outbreak. I don't know why I didn't know Outbreak, but you thought you were gonna get me with Firestarter, didn't you?
Firestarter and Flatliners. I would like it's deep cuts. Don't.
Those are good.
Get
movies.
me wrong. These are deep cuts. Flatliners is so underrated. And look, everybody there is a
mega star.
Top mega star. So we've got Kiefer Sutherland. We've got Kevin Bacon, Oliver Platt. We got what's her face, the one with the laugh, exactly her from Erin Brockovich, and
Julia Roberts,
and the other guy,
the other guy.
What's his face? Yeah, dude, me and names, man, me and names. I'm gonna
look at it again. Actually, we'll be reviewing a film, the first film that Kevin Bacon was ever in, very soon.
Which one?
The original Friday the 13th.
Oh, that's right. Oh, and Adam Baldwin. The brother of Alec. Adam Baldwin. All right.
Well,
cool.
You could say Oliver Platt and Adam Baldwin didn't become megastars, but they were still stars. They were right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Adam Baldwin did have that movie where he kissed Cindy Crawford, which was a bomb of a movie, and it was so. Watching it again,
I don't even know that. I just know that Oliver Platt is in one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time.
Which one?
Oh, it's not a happy Christmas movie, but it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, he's in
The Ice Harvest.
Oh,
it's a great movie.
He's in two movies I really like, and a lot of people didn't see. One of them is Bicentennial Man, which.
That was okay.
I don't know how you don't cry at the end, even though I didn't. And Chef from 2014.
Chef was really good too. Yeah.
Chef is one of the movies that I know a lot of people have not seen, even though it is always on reruns, right? Like and on cable, on like I've catched it here, even if when I change from cable to something else. I don't know how many more. Like it's so perfect. Never mind.
It's a great film.
It's a really good underrated Jon
Favreau's movie. Actually Jon Favreau's best role as an actor.
Better than Swingers?
I think so.
Yeah, because Swingers is more like Vince Vaughn's territory, I would say. Yeah, never mind. All right, we're discussing.
But
I like it though.
Seth, no, you were wrong there. But Die Hard actually is a Christmas movie.
Die Hard is a Christmas movie. All right, moving right along. We're gonna go through the plan, because the police chief has ideas on what Simon Phoenix is gonna do, and John Spartan was like, Phoenix is going for a gun, plain and simple. Cut to Phoenix in the gun museum. Right, so that's where all the guns are stored.
Well, where are the guns? They're at the natural.
Yeah, you can only find one at a museum. That's where he is.
Yeah.
That's where he is. Cut to Simon Phoenix in the thing where he lets loose a little bit, and one particular patron comes to him, and he's got the perfect line. Yeah, you can go ahead.
He's the museum. He's one of the curators of the museum. He walks up to him and asks,
Yeah.
Is there, what seems to be the problem? Because how much do you weigh?
No. Excuse me, what is your boggle?
What is your boggle?
What is
My
your
boggle is
boggle. Yeah. Wait a minute. How much do you weigh?
You
and before he even speaks, like, whoop,
slammed
him into the thing, takes on, and of course, alerts the police and then evacuates everybody from there. I'm moving it forward. Spartan comes in, and the first thing when they meet for the first time, it was like, Simon.
I was going to just say one quick thing with, if you don't mind, with that alert, it shows how almost anesthetized this whole society has become, where it's like they're always there. It seems like everybody is munching on Xanax every single day. It's like, caution, please leave in an orderly fashion. It's like, there's rampant violence.
Does it remind you of today where everybody's on Xanax? That's what I'm talking about.
And medicated,
so prophetic, but yet when they wrote the thing, like you said at the beginning, or you said it to me off stream, they never meant this to be a prophetic movie, a satire. This was just a plain old action movie with certain set pieces somewhere. So Simon is like, Spartan, John Spartan, they let everybody into this century. It's like, he's like, it's a,
wait, I'm ready to have that voice, John Spartan.
Yeah. And it takes like, it takes Wesley Snipes into, when he was in Passenger 57, he was very serious, into Wesley Snipes from White Man Can Jump. Comedy, like banter between, and the banter here works so good with the serious Sylvester Stallone and the funny, wacky Wesley
Snipes. And Sylvester Stallone still has some good little one-liners.
Yeah, he does. He does.
But I will say too, though, when the script was being rewritten by the writer who also wrote Heathers.
Yeah.
While he was writing it, rewriting it, he's the one who injected comedy into it as well.
The guy from Heathers did?
Yeah.
I thought he wrote the more somber parts.
No, he wrote.
Nice.
Like, it was basically just like one big giant action set piece. Shot after shot after shot was basically just one moving set piece to another, where it was just action, and almost no character development really. So he's the one who brought in all the real extras that really brought in the flavor of the film. That's
cool. Well, we're gonna go through Heathers somewhere in the future, because that movie is
good movie. It's a great fucking movie.
Mrs. Meth in the house. Yes.
Heathers? Yeah, Winona Ryder and the Heathers?
Yes, Winona Ryder and the Heathers. Yes, me lady.
Just want some air conditioning.
Oh, okay. You can stay.
No, I have to go to sleep.
You have to go to sleep? Okay. Good night, Mrs. Meth. Please sit.
Night, Mrs. Meth. Love you.
Yeah. She's enjoying the AC for a bit until she has to go out to the hellish hellhole which we live in. Anyway, they have their little banter. Phoenix escapes, and of course, he meets Dr. Cocteau, and he wants to kill him. Yet he points the gun, but he can't pull the trigger. And there we see a little bit more development in terms of what we saw with the console, where he's like,
because he was like, well, didn't you hear that voice in your head? Don't you have a job to do?
Exactly. And he's like, what is, he still can't realize what's going on. And as soon as the cops show up, and like Spartan shows up in the distance, it was like, it's like it breaks the spell a little bit. It's like, you're lucky I don't have the time to kill you. And he moves away. He runs away, right? So there's like, he seems to be like under a spell, and then it like breaks away, and he goes back to being the wacky Simon, and he just runs off. And you get the whole introduction between Dr. Cocteau, and they explain to him that he's the one that pulled everybody out and had all the rules, and he was the one that is in charge of the rehabilitation as well.
Yeah. Well, that one thing I did want to mention, back that when Spartan is brought back, it brought back the concept of the whole fascism, where they're like, well, we can't track Simon Phoenix wherever he's going because he wasn't chipped.
Yes.
Everyone now is chipped, which again, that whole like big like kind of fascist Big Brother 1984.
Yeah, and they explained to John,
concept
look,
of
as soon as you thawed out, we implanted
you.
you with one because
yeah.
And he was like, this, I think he says it now or later. It's like, this fascist thing makes me want to puke.
No, he said it then.
So he said, I was like, even before they mention even the chip, it's like, this fascist thing what makes me want to puke. So everybody's cameraed up and everybody's followed, and there's no privacy. This is where it literally comes for today, where some people say that we live in a society where it's very, very much like 1984 when everybody's being tracked. We've got we've got the phones. Everybody knows exactly where they are. And when you talk to Mrs. Meff, she has a lot of insights about how intelligence works, and I will not add on to that. She knows exactly how intelligence works, and people who think they are not under surveillance have a very distorted, non-realistic view of how things work. Even the people who are like the most objectionable about privacy and all that stuff need to have their their reality checked a little bit. A little bit. Never mind. We get to the point where Cocteau,
but we did see like who was Cocteau's friend?
Oh, it's
from Beetlejuice.
Yeah, it's he's so good for this role because he basically does the same role, but I'll call it in this one, he's much more demure. In Beetlejuice, he's much more like a small dog barking all the time, but he's very much like a little guy. And here he's not really barking, but he's very much like a little guy. And every time there's a power shift, he bends to that power shift.
Oh, cool. Well, what his character is the perfect sycophant.
Yeah, he is the absolute yes man. And we've got Cocteau inviting his savior, John Spartan.
I want to invite you to dinner tonight at Taco
Bell. By the way, this version, and I'll show it on screen. It is the Pizza Hut version.
You have the US. So you're watching the European.
So the US version, and there's a US version, and there's European specific, because everywhere in the world except for Europe, the movie came out with the original we'll call it voice dub, I would say, and visuals, and it's Taco Bell for everybody who's seen this movie. And they probably, depending on where they watch us, it is Taco Bell. Just in Europe, and so United Kingdom, Europe, and even Israel, we have the European version, which is Pizza Hut. I have not found any reason why it's Pizza Hut and not Taco Bell for Europe.
I could tell you why.
You can tell me why.
Because at the time, Taco Bell did not exist in a wide of a market in Europe, as opposed to Yum Brand's other brand, Pizza Hut. And this is only due to the fact because McDonald's and Burger King turned down the opportunity to be the winner of the franchise wars.
Really?
They did not want to be depicted in the film. If it had been McDonald's, it would have been easy. It'd be
Well,
unilateral.
there's a massive reason why they turned it down, because meat isn't good for you, hence it is illegal.
Yeah.
And that's the whole business. That's burgers. It's Burger King.
Yeah. But
So, I'm just
that's
gonna
why when
flash.
Yum Brands
before-
picked it up, they said that's why they went with Taco Bell in the West and Pizza Hut in Europe.
Exactly. So, by the way, India, Malaysia, China, that's all Taco Bell.
Yep.
Originally. I mean, in China, it wasn't really released the way they release it today, but yes,
No.
the version that the Chinese have seen is this one. Is not this one, the Taco Bell one. This one is the Pizza Hut one. But before that, we got another little minor prophetic thing where Lenina Huxley talks about why is it Taco Bell. She said it survived the franchise wars, and now like all restaurants are Taco Bell restaurants or Pizza Hut. And she mentioned she wanted to show him his daughter, and she can go into the Schwarzenegger library of whatever.
Oh,
And he was like, Schwarzenegger library?
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, well, although he was not born in the US, the 49th Amendment,
61st.
61st Amendment,
Which is like, how did they jump up that many amendments in?
I think you're at
in less than a
27
decade?
now, I think, right? You're at 27 now. There's 27 or 23 amendments. I'm not. You can check it out. You can Google it and the one of the prophetic things. One of the prophetic things is later on, Schwarzenegger became the governor of California, and while he was governor, he had Republican senators pushing for an amendment that will let a person that was not born in the U.S. to become president, which did not pass, by the way.
Yeah, I was right for it. There was only 27.
Obviously,
There's only 27.
It
So
was
yeah,
27.
so they jumped up 34 in what?
Which kind of harkens to the
Less
fact
than a decade?
which kind of harkens to the fact that there were, after a major disaster, you get a lot of rules, which we kind of are experiencing today with the stuff that's going on in the world, kind of, which takes away freedoms and stuff. Which you can talk about it as much as we want. So they reached Taco
I will
Bell.
say the only other thing that I would want to add about that is there was actually during when Arnold Schwarzenegger did actually run for office, and did become the governor, there actually technically is a part of the state's amendment is called the Arnold Amendment to allow him to become governor. Yeah.
So technically he wouldn't be able to run unless he had that amendment.
It was named for him in retrospect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So John Spartan sits down at
America,
restaurant,
how dumb we are.
And he gets like this miniature food comes in, and I was like, this is also super prophetic, because today we also in like mega restaurants, you see these little teeny tiny, very delicate micro fucking like foods.
I'll tell you right now, the best meal I ever had was at LNA in Chicago. It was $1,500. You know what it was?
And it was this big,
but it was 28 plates.
Yeah. So it's tasty.
So it was good. It was moving toward the whole thing about gastro.
Yeah, I know the whole culinary, and it's very much. I was like, I remember it being miniature, but like again, watching it critically and I'm very much into like watching a lot of how food is made and how it is served and all that. So I'm very interested in that, like on the side. It kind of clicked for me, and yeah, maybe it was already going that way, but this is like almost 30 years. Almost 30 years. You have to understand the context.
Yeah.
It is a very, very much a good, we'll call it a solid way of looking at the future. Like electric cars. Tesla is everywhere now, especially in California. I would
consider it a good barometer then?
Yeah, because they don't, when discussing the future, if you're talking about, like, let's say we're going back to the future. Back to the Future, when they go to the future, it's 2015, and we've got flying cars, we've got this, that, and some things, yeah, they nailed, but some things they were way off. And this one, a lot of the things you see in this movie are not super high tech. There's not a lot of high tech here. We've got super high frequency internet. We've got FaceTime, like I'm guessing FaceTime video chats. The only thing that is super high tech is the sex helmet. The only thing that is super high tech is the
also the cryo. Obviously,
the cryo thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The cryo thing and the alpha wave sex machines. That's the only thing that is super way off. But overall, it's very down to earth.
Yeah.
And again, this is not really a sci-fi movie. It's not really a time traveling movie. It's like it's set in the future. It's not far into the future. It is 30 years in advance, but not. They don't.
Well, at the time, it was 39 years when the film was
exactly.
released. So yeah, I mean, 40 when the film was being actually filmed, but.
And we get to this scene where Spartan, like John explains, like, I was in the ice, but I had thoughts, feelings, dreams. And Cocteau, who is the mastermind of the cryo prison and the rehabilitation, he was like, that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And John was like, fuck yeah, it happened.
It was like, yeah, imagine living a 40-year nightmare.
Exactly. And this woman is, let's say, of her time. It's like, what if I call you a brutish relic fossil from a time long forgotten? And John was like, I don't know, thank you.
And that's
and they laugh. They laugh. They just laugh. And like during this whole thing, John Spartan was like, he sees the little periscope run up, and he's already he was at 1, now he's at 6.
Can I have a side caveat real quick?
Of course.
One thing I did want to mention is the music in the movie.
Go ahead.
Know the fact that the only things that they ever sing or they hear on the radio are what?
Oh, show tunes. Commercials.
They're jingles. They're jingles. Ad jingles.
Yeah,
and do you know who's playing the piano?
It is I think it's John Cortez or Jeff Cortez. Dan Cortez.
Good job, buddy.
He is an MTV VJ. He started off with the Extreme, I think it's Extreme Sport at the time.
Yeah, because he was with the MTV Sports stuff.
Yeah, he was MTV Sports stuff. Yeah, he was like a very recognizable face. I wasn't into MTV, but I wasn't into the whole VJs thing, especially not the American VJs, because we had MTV Europe. Remember, most of our VJs was like from the UK, some of them from France, but they spoke English, and we had one Israeli VJ as well, back in the early 90s.
Cool. No, but what I was going to say, what's important about that is it's not only that their food is streamlined.
Yeah.
The only restaurant being Taco Bell. Now, see, they can't. There's all the morality clauses. They can't reproduce at their own will, which which they discuss later. There's no human-to-human contact.
2 more scenes. Don't worry.
So now anything that is deemed unhealthy by the state, they can't consume. And now guess what? What is the only music that they can listen to? Is the safe, puerile,
advertiser-friendly.
That's all they are.
It is advertisement, but yeah, they're consuming advertisement as medium. As a medium,
it's their form of enjoyment,
as a pastime.
Yeah,
as a pastime.
Because they were singing that it was Sandra Bullock's character singing with Alfredo, her partner. They were singing the Armour Hot Dogs.
Yeah, Armour Hot Dogs. By the way, I've heard back in the day. I've heard the original one. It's super close. It's an actual. It's also the Jolly Green Giant. It's also It's a 57 or 58. It's 50s, basically 50s.
Yeah.
Which is the birth of the jingle.
Which goes back to that concept too of whenever anyone harkens back to that kind of sort of pure Americana, what do they think of?
Madison Avenue.
They think of the 1950s.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah.
Just wanted to put a little caveat on there on that the whole fashion concept.
So we get the Scraps coming in, stealing food, and Spartan takes charge because he doesn't know any better. And Cocteau tells him this is the only remainder of violence in the city. It's basically graffiti and stuff. And John is like, you don't treat these people like trash.
Because he finds out that one of them he tackles him down and goes, just don't hit me.
Yeah, just don't hit me. And
because he sees what he was trying to take, and it was just a jar of food.
Yeah, exactly.
Jar of food stuffs with Taco Bell written on it, which is
technically it says Pizza Hut on it. I don't know what you're talking about. It is so weird. It looks like mini dried up pizzas, and it kind of reminded me. It kind of reminded me of in Back to the Future 2, where they put stuff in the hydrometer because they put stuff in.
Oh yeah,
and it literally grows into this full on pizza. And they kind of maybe did kind of the same because it's similar thought process, I would say.
Yeah. But I have so many issues with this scene and a lot of how the Scraps ran their organization coming up when we get to it, because there's going to be a lot of callbacks.
Yeah,
makes no sense. Moving on.
Okay, so 2 things happen. One is Lenny and Huxley take John Spartan to the house, and 2, Cocteau goes back to his office, and of course, who waits there but Wesley Snipes,
Mr. Simon Phoenix,
in a Scraps getup. So he was already down in the sewers, and he asks for an additional men to help him out.
Yeah.
Of course, none of these motherfuckers from New York because they're too uptight.
Too uptight.
It's such a perfect line. I love that. He is. And it's also a demonstration of him using his rehabilitation powers, I would say. He actually changes how you address we'll call it the computer. Instead of saying lights, you say illuminate and deluminate, which is basically him trying to show his superiority. Sort of like a Khan thing, I would say. Khan from Star Trek.
Yeah. He's definitely showing the fact that the person who is supposed to be the architect of this whole concept is no longer no. You've lost the reins of power here. I really control it.
Yeah. But he is also kind of, this is where the point, and again, I'm hearkening back to the video we saw from Sargon of Akkad, he kind of explains where this is the point where Simon starts to feel resentment to the authoritarian, like the authority and the authoritative measure or the fascist measure of how Cocteau runs things. He's not quite there yet, but this is where he starts to feel like he doesn't like Cocteau at all. Cocteau is more authoritative, and Wesley Snipes, like Simon, is very much chaos and disorder and basically the opposite side of
the two of them are literally they're a complete juxtaposition. They cannot coexist. One of them is going to have to move forward, or none of them will.
Exactly,
and that's what happens. But
it does happen. But this is where you can tell that a lot of people, let's say, a lot of the free thinkers, we'll call it free thinkers. A lot of the free thinkers don't like Cocteau and what he intends to, we'll call it his plan, or does he want to shape society? How does he think society should look like? And it comes back later on, but it starts here. We move on to one of my favorite scenes where it's sort of, how do I say it? So Lenina Huxley says to John Spartan, look, it is well known that violence and sex are intermingled, because I guess. So would you like to have sex? And it's like, it shocks John because she's very forward. Because from John's world, it's like super fast, I would say. And from her side, because there's no actual physical contact, having sex is
doesn't matter.
It just doesn't matter because there's no actual repercussions. There's no pregnancy to think about. There's no bodily fluids to transfer, so there's less chance of any disease. Whether it's STD or just normal disease, where people just come close and talk to each other close or kiss, right? So they sit down and she brings this machine. I don't have the right thing, but you get it, right? She gets this machine that works on your alpha waves and actually transmits. We can see a little bit when he closes his eyes. He sees her in sort of a.
Which, by the way, if anyone watching this film, if you're just watching this review and you happen to have epilepsy, skip forward because.
Yeah, this part
might
is
give you a full-on seizure. It's
very
really bad.
Yeah, it's very, very stroby. And he's like, at one point, he just disconnects, and it's like, "What the fuck is this?" It's like,
what are you doing? We were making love.
Yeah, it's like,
is that what you call this?
Yeah, exactly. And he was like, "What do you call? What do you want to do?" It's like, yeah, it's like.
Well, then Stallone has the most like 1950s-esque string of like, call it the big shebang.
Oh, he says boning, the wild mambo.
Oh yeah,
the hunka chunka, the hunka chunka. Like, oh yeah,
it's like, oh my god, man.
I've heard the wild back in the day. I've heard the wild mambo, like referred to it as the wild mambo, but hunka chunka, it's like, that's super 50s. I would say that was super 50s.
Mef, you are not that much older than I. And
no, you've never heard of the wild mambo?
No,
because mambo is a dance, typically with two people, and.
Well, yeah, you could call it the wild tango. It'd be the same fucking thing.
Sure, but doesn't quite have that same ring to it, as you say. So she basically explained to him, look, pregnancy is outlawed, and there is a reason why we have those laws. The laws are there to protect, basically, she doesn't say it, but to protect people, which is something that is very 1984.
Well, yeah, because we're just like, well, what do you do when you, because John asks her, what do you do when you actually want to have children? Well,
you go to a lab.
You register yourself to become pregnant, then you go to a lab, then your genes are sterilized and make sure they're fit for reproduction.
Yes, which is
does that not sound like genetics?
It does sound like eugenics, which is
not a good thing.
All right, so I'm going to touch it in a little bit, because two things. One, she sends him to his dormitory or domicile. He goes in, and she already gave him the recording. And what he does is he puts the recording into the thing, to the viewer. He gets that wild call, which is, we'll say it's for the men.
Yes. And then he starts knitting too.
When he watches it, he actually picks up a ball of yarn that says behavioral engineering. He doesn't actually read it. He just takes it, and we read it as the audience, but he just opens it up.
He instinctually knows what to do with it.
Yeah,
due to his reprogramming training.
He doesn't even have a second thought. He just watches the thing. While he watches one thing, his brain is going into the behavioral thing. And of course, when they wake up in the morning,
he meets her and gives her a nice sweater.
A gift for being rude, right? Because she told him, that's very rude what you just did. And he gives her that thing. And when they sit down in the car, she tells him, he tells her, how come I know, like, hook and bobbin and needlepoint and all that stuff. And she explains why this happens. And he says, what, I'm a seamstress now?
Yeah. Oh, and also during the scene where he's sewing, he's reviewing the tape of the crime scene, and that's what he puts the two and two together. There's the connection between
Simon Phoenix and Cocteau.
Yeah.
And he tells her, and she does not believe him.
Mm-hmm.
The benevolent Dr. Cocteau, how could it be? But yeah. So I'm going to jump forward. They go down to the sewers, because he wants to know why he heard the name in the thing. He jumps to the sewers. I want to get to, oh yeah, this will do. They go to the point where she smells, oh, this is awful. And also Fredo, right? Benjamin Bratt, and never mind. He also smells it. And John smells it, like, oh yeah. And they go into this little barbecue place in the middle of the sewers, and they have hamburgers. And I don't know how they do it, but they have bottled beer.
Okay. There are a million questions I have here. So please, can I have just 5 minutes and I'll get through this rant?
Okay.
First and foremost, all of them have Budweiser labels. So, does the Budweiser company still exist? Are they still brewing beer? Because at the time they're saying anything that's not
bad for you is
healthy
illegal.
For you is illegal. So how can they still be brewing? If not, the beer must be that old, and you can't actually have beer past a certain age, otherwise it goes bad. So where did it come from? Second of all, how does this woman down here in an entire community that is destitute and so poor, they're going out and stealing food, that she has a restaurant?
And she has several burgers already running.
So she has customers already. How are they paying for it?
I'm just saying.
Next question.
They're sitting down here.
Yes. Where the fuck did they get the mustard from?
Exactly. Where'd they get the mustard from?
We know where the meat comes from in a minute.
Yes.
But moving on.
By the way, being a certified rat handler myself, rat meat, you can eat it because it's mammal.
Yeah, it would be like eating a
After
squirrel.
it's cleaned, it's like squirrel. It's exactly like squirrel.
Yeah.
But you cannot make burgers from it the same way you cannot make burgers out of rabbit's meat, because it's very similar to chicken in terms of the build
Consistency?
of the meat.
Yeah.
I would, and it has zero fat.
Yeah.
Zero. I'm guessing they just went for whatever.
It was supposed to be a joke more than anything.
Again, it's 1993 and it's definitely a joke.
But the other main question I have in this is, okay, so they end up right after the scene meeting with Edgar.
Yeah.
Dennis Leary, who goes on his rant, which we'll get to in a minute, which is basically just his fucking stand-up from the early 90s.
Yes, I know.
But during that scene, they all have fucking guns. The cops up there don't have any firearms. Why hasn't your revolution succeeded yet? Why? Why?
Now, two things. One, the only believable gun there, the only believable firearm there is what Edgar Friendly has, which is a makeshift gun. Every other gun is an issued gun, like it's a production gun. Everybody else has a production gun, but the leader has a makeshift gun. It's a problem, man. It's a problem. Now, I can be devil's advocate to what you said, where why hasn't their revolution began? Because they don't have an actual leader. Edgar is not a leader, and he doesn't want to be a leader.
That's true, but you can also see
he just motivates people to, like, he motivates people to do things, and they sometimes listen to him, and he admits it.
So he's like a more benevolent Charlie Manson then.
No, not really. No, not really. I would say.
I'm sorry. That was a dark joke. That was a really dark joke.
I would say, if you take it for today, Edgar Friendly actually represents a lot of cancel culture. I would call them cancel culture YouTubers. YouTubers that are really against what's happening in our culture.
I would disagree. I would say it's on the opposite side. I would say that Edgar would actually be more of a true diehard conservative, especially given what he said before about how everyone needs to be free and we need to have all our guns. And
you know what? The one thing he does say, he says, it comes from Dennis Leary's from his act, but back in the day, it seems to us he was very conservative, but in his mind he was very liberal. At the time it was very liberal, because he said, I want to smoke a cigar the size of Cincinnati. I want to run in the street. I'm going
to cover my nude body in Jello and run down
the streets.
Playboy.
That is, if you said it, people would say, why this guy wants to be like in San Francisco, which was, by the way, was allowed back then and today. You can run in the streets covered in Jello in San Francisco and nobody would say fucking shit, because it's allowed in San Francisco. Yes, dude, it is allowed.
That's patently false, but
no, it's not. It definitely is. even back in the day,
definitely not.
there
is definitely
no
not
rules
allowed.
in the metropolitan area of San Francisco. It is allowed, if should you want to, wear absolutely nothing and roam the streets. Also, you can also defecate in the street at your leisure, should you want to.
Well, that was actually an amendment. Do you know why?
Because of the homeless population, I guess.
Bingo, bango, especially around the Tenderloin. Do not go around the Tenderloin past 5 p.m.
Yep. And I don't even live in San Francisco, and I know that. But yes, there is.
It's not a good part of that city. It's really fucked up.
You can, in the metropolitan area of San Francisco, walk around naked should you wish to. Most people do not, but it is allowed. Never mind. So, by the way, if somebody watches this and actually lives in San Francisco, comment section down below.
I was more referring to the fact that like, covering yourself in Jell-O than
Yes.
walking around naked and reading Playboy. That was the. That's what he said. You said like, oh, they could do that. It's like, no, they could not do that. Openly reading pornography covered in a foodstuff. There's a line.
Yeah, for some people there's a line. So Edgar Friendly goes into his rant. Basically, it's Dennis Leary's part of his
stand-up, like
act.
it's his
part of his
that's-
act.
I think that's part of his asshole stand-up.
It is part of his asshole stand-up. I think it came out in 1996 or 7, by the way. The one-man show or his stand-up special, whatever you want to call it. It is very good.
It's really fucking funny.
Very
It's
good.
Really fucking funny.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
Very at the time, very much. Yeah. Today
It encapsulates what's going on at the time. Yeah, it's very of its time. Yeah.
So we get an action set piece where the criminals and the criminals that Simon Phoenix got freed. Go ahead.
One of those criminals. Do you know who that was? Right.
Don't remember.
The one who shot Cocteau.
I don't know.
That's Jesse the Body Ventura.
No, check it. Google it. I don't think so. Anyway, it's very apropos for today.
It is.
It's
Jesse Ventura, and in fact, no. The reason why I know that is because he and Stallone were actually supposed to have an extended fight scene before he fights Phoenix, but it got cut out by the final draft.
Oh, okay. So, Phoenix
doing your homework. Do it.
Yeah. Anyway, Phoenix attacks. They successfully defend, and they go after Phoenix. And an Oldsmobile 442, which miraculously Lenina Huxley can drive.
But she can't drive the modern car, but she can drive that car. And also, how is that in pristine condition, and how is it still functioning? And how the hell they get gasoline? Gasoline goes bad. Gasoline goes bad.
Yes. No, it has a sediment, and when you start it up, it actually goes into the pistons, and it ruins it immediately.
Yeah.
So they give chase, and during the chase, Phoenix gets thrown out of the car, and Spartan is left in the car, which actually goes into the to the SFPD, or not SFPD, but the police department, the SAPD. And when it jumps the curve, it flies into the air. It fills with this foam, and not the foam part is what I wanted to say is when things go bad and the car doesn't stop. He said, "You Mickey Mouse piece of shit."
Yeah.
That kind of harkens to the fact that Mickey Mouse is a very family friendly, very much like the commercials are. And going back into today's thing, it's like, I can see a bit of authoritarian coming from that company about certain things and things getting getting PG rated instead of R.
I would say I do like when he got out of that. He did use kind of a little.
Oh yeah. Suddenly this
What
car
just
turned
happened?
into
Suddenly
a
the car turned
cannoli.
into a cannoli.
And I was like, and another thing, she tells him, Lenina tells him his thing is ripped. It's like, it's okay. I can do it like with a needle and a thread, 2 minutes. It's like,
yeah.
did I really say that?
Say how-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So cut to Simon Phoenix in Cocteau's office, right? Before Spartan comes in. And where is it? I want to get specific thing. So before Lenina and John Spartan move away, and because the chief wants Spartan to be arrested, the fact that you're leaving negates the fact that you're arrested. Hello?
Yeah.
And it doesn't actually affect John Spartan whatsoever.
Right.
He just goes, and Lenina follows him, was like, Chief, you can take this job and you can shovel it.
Which is only the one of
Which harkens back to
major
them,
faux pas. And shit.
them going, yeah, she knows a little bit about the lingo, but not really. Because
I think
when
the best one, he goes like, "Yeah, you really licked his ass." Like,
yeah,
kicked
his ass.
His ass.
Yeah, exactly. It goes back to when they attacked at first, and then when they went down to the sewer. She said, "Let's blow this guy," which it's not blow. It's blow
this guy away.
So you can take this job and shovel it. Good enough. So we cut back to the office. I want to show exactly the point. There it is. So Cocteau comes in and he's mad that Simon didn't finish the job. And I let you loose. You need to finish this job already. And he kind of goes into how he wants his city or his domain or his reign to be clean and like as a perfect pearl. His society is going to be a malevolent society and beautiful as perfect as a pearl. And Simon comes from anarchy and he goes, dude, you cannot take away people's rights to be assholes. And that's super American. That's like the First Amendment thing, right? It goes back to free speech, which actually Edgar Friendly discussed.
Yeah. I would say yes. I wouldn't say that you have the right to be an asshole is not the First Amendment.
Yeah, but you cannot take people's rights to be assholes. You cannot. Comes to you cannot change people's innate.
You cannot. You cannot outright censor someone's thoughts and what they believe in. You cannot do that. Yeah.
Yes. And of course, Simon realized it, and he says something very, very American that not a lot of people would catch. He says, I now know who you remind me of, an evil Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers is a show.
Yeah.
You can tell us who Mr. Rogers is, not the evil one, the real one.
Oh, Mr. Rogers. If you have children, I don't know. You could probably find it on some random. Use a VPN, PBS site, let them watch it. It's this kindly old man who basically every single weekday he would have this show where he would come in and won't you be my neighbor? He'd sing all these songs and they had this magic little puppet kingdom. It was kind of like Fraggle Rock in a way where there's a little train that went to the other side and there was a whole panoply of characters that were all just little
sort of like another version of Sesame Street, I would say.
Yeah, it was basically Sesame Street with one person and then a whole cadre of little tiny puppets, and then also he had mailmen that would show up and the mailmen that would teach them lessons, and there was a whole skit about where it was back in the early 60s when the civil rights movement was going on and everything, when no, sorry, it was the 60s when it started, 70s when it was.
It's okay if you
a
don't
lot
go
of-
into it that much, dude.
There were a lot of racial tensions going on where his postman at the time was African American, and the postman was talking to Mr. Rogers about how he felt bad because people treated him differently because
Yeah.
he was black.
Yeah.
And this is the first time children's television is openly talking about race.
Okay. So the evil version of it is him being aggressively nice, I would say.
Yeah, I would say like if I think it's Won't You Be My Neighbor was the documentary that just came out a couple of years ago. Watch it once, you'll bawl your eyes out at the end of it.
Okay. Anyway, so what Phoenix does is he knows he can't shoot Cocteau, so he just gives it to one of the other criminals, which I don't know why they freed them without that conditioning, but I guess we're at a time limit.
Like, well, why wouldn't he? Because he retroactively went into Simon Phoenix's entire reprogramming, and he made him so he got all this knowledge, and with that one prime directive, like, do not harm Cocteau. Why wouldn't he have put that again? All the other ones, don't know, but
exactly, which is a problem. I mean, it's like not putting Directive 4 into RoboCop.
Yeah,
exactly.
But the one who shot him, that was Jesse Ventura.
Okay, good enough. All right. Once more, we break up this podcast that was supposed to end around this time, and we go to our second segment where we take two movies. We pit them together in a massive brawl and we see which one is better. What is our criteria for which one is better? Basically, it boils down to Friday evening, Saturday evening with the boys or the girls, putting something on the streaming service or putting a DVD in the machine, the old machine that cost us about $1 to make, and watching a movie. I've already queued up a couple. Our first
all right, we got this week
couple, and here it is: Holy Grail and The Hangover. Is it easy? Because it's easy for me. Holy Grail. I Am Legend versus Minority Report. Two that I dislike, I would say.
I don't care for either film. I hate I Am Legend more of the bastardization of the original concept, so I'm going Minority Report.
I'm going to go with you. Spaceballs the movie. No, Spaceballs the movie or Anaconda, which is a terrible showing of
you are a dirty motherfucker, Meth. Wait for it. You want to put that soundboard?
Yeah.
You too, motherfucker, you! You know I hate Spaceballs, but Anaconda is worse, so I have to give it to Spaceballs.
Yeah.
You know how much I fucking hate Spaceballs.
It's randomly picked, dude. It's randomly picked. Jane, Silent Bob Strike Back, and Saw. I actively dislike Saw. I do not like that movie. And I love Kevin Smith's movie, especially the earlier ones. So
I really love Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, but I have to give it to Saw just because of the cultural impact. But Sap in the chat already says Jay and Silent, so
chat says Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Now this is a problem because I actively do not like Ferris Bueller. I'm well aware of the cultural impact. I hate this movie so much.
Oh, because Ferris is a self-righteous, self-important,
I just don't like Ferris Bueller whatsoever. I know you love it, and I know
it's going to go to Jay again. It's okay. Go to Jay.
Between the two, you would pick Ferris Bueller, but I really don't like that movie. All right, Donnie Brasco and Lemony Snicket's. Lemony Snicket's did not hit it for me. Also, that's better than what they give it to, but
Donnie Brasco is one of the most underrated of Johnny Depp's performances.
Oh
I
yeah,
think.
for sure.
It's really great.
For sure. Right.
Wow.
Original Young Guns, not Young Guns 2, and
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Well-
Now, I prefer Guardians 1 to Guardians 2,
Yeah.
but
think
I
everyone
prefer
does.
Young Guns 2 to Young Guns.
Really?
What do you say now? What do you say to that, sir?
I have to say, like, I loved Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, especially how they played up Ego the Living Planet as a big comic book
Mhm.
nerd. But I love the original Young Guns because it set up what? Again, as in Flatliners, megastars.
It set up a lot of megastars. We'll go with Young Guns.
Megastars.
We'll go with Young Guns. The Day After Tomorrow.
Collateral.
and Collateral.
Oh my God, Collateral so
hands
fucking good.
down, so
There,
good.
add that one to the list. That's added to
Yeah,
the list.
we'll talk
I
about
love
it
that.
after
I
the
love that
podcast. then.
fucking movie.
We're gonna
So
do two more. This one and another one. So half of Yellow. I have not seen that. Sorry.
Hey, it's all right. Lethal Weapon.
That's easy. Lethal Weapon. And the last one, Chasing Amy. Kevin Smith again. What the
Oddly
fuck?
enough, that's actually my favorite Kevin Smith film, which I've told you is Chasing Amy.
It is my it used to be my favorite. It's my second favorite. After Dogma. All right.
Oh yeah,
Cool.
that was great too.
Cool.
Oh, both of those
not
were really good. That were coming up next too.
Yeah. What? Yeah. The two other ones are Full Metal Jacket and History of Violence is so good.
That's really good.
So good.
Well,
It's so hard to pick between the two as well.
Oh,
They're so very, very, very violent, both of them. Yeah. By the way, which one would you pick? I'm not going to say mine.
I would actually need to think about it because I'm always leaning toward Full Metal Jacket because it has such cultural importance.
Yeah, it's Full Metal Jacket for me too.
Yeah.
Because
Don't get me wrong, though.
It's literally two movies in one with the same main character.
Yeah.
Oliver Stone.
Because was that
phenomenal.
Vincent D'Onofrio who did it? When he
Vincent D'Onofrio and Army
Hammer,
Lee.
yeah.
Not Army Hammer, Army Lee.
Army
Hammer.
Lee. Oh my God, no, yeah.
He is absolutely amazing. Absolutely. Because he didn't need to
Army
act.
Hammer. No, Army Hammer is the
the guy who eats human
asshole.
flesh.
We don't talk about him anymore. No, he's bad.
Yeah,
he's
he's
bad
very
person.
bad.
No.
Okay, so basically, after Cocteau dies, the movie doesn't go into anything but action. So we have the set piece action where Spartan and Lenina Huxley go and try and get to Cocteau's office, and they get attacked by the criminals. Which here again, there's a major problem. Lenina Huxley watches Jackie Chan movies so she knows how to fight. No,
I'm sorry. That'd be the same thing like as me, like just putting the sleeping on the Art of War, waking up like, oh, I'm a master tactician.
Yes. And
does not work that way.
No, that doesn't work. It works for the movie, but it doesn't work if you think about it. They come in, they see Cocteau, and that's like, okay. She's Lenina says, "Oh, rest in peace, Raymond Cocteau." It's like,
well, what are we gonna do with our future now? And that's when we bring in Dennis Leary and the rest of the scraps.
No, it comes at the end. They come in before they leave for Cocteau's office. We basically have two set pieces which are action based. One in the office and one now going to the cryo prison where John Spartan sees the list on Cocteau's screen because associate Bob helped Simon Phoenix get to a list. And when they cut to the thing, and he was like going back and forth, and Simon looks at the list, he says, "Jeffrey Dahmer, I love that guy. I love that guy." Back in the day, Jeffrey Dahmer was still in prison waiting
Which
for
oddly enough, no,
lethal
actually
injection.
I believe Jeffrey Dahmer had already been murdered in prison. When it was released, he was already dead.
Really?
While it was filming,
he was still in prison, but he wasn't dead. He got
Yeah.
killed in prison. I thought they
Yes.
lethal injected him.
No, he got murdered in prison.
All right.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, granted, yes. Oh, tears for Jeffrey.
It's not a big loss. But I always love that line. It's like, oh, so Jeffrey Dahmer ended up in the cryo prison.
I am wrong. I just looked it up.
Yeah.
It was actually November 28th, 1994. He was beaten to death by an inmate. So he was still in prison at the time, but he would have not have been frozen. He would have been killed.
Yes. Yeah. So he basically was waiting for his lethal. He
might as well have said like, "Oh yeah, Ted Bundy. I love that guy."
Or whatever. Yeah.
John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah, in slot here.
Edmund Kemper.
Killer, yeah.
Richard Ramirez.
Mindhunter. I cannot wait for another Mindhunter season. God damn it.
Mm-hmm.
It won't happen, by the way.
Yeah, no.
So they go into the prison where you basically have a lot of things that shouldn't happen, like when Simon Phoenix destroys the head of the laser and the laser becomes a lightning bolt for some reason. And
plasma doesn't work that way.
Yeah, plasma doesn't really work that way. But a lot of like water gets thrown into the thing, and we get the rod with the little dot that freezes everything instantly, which actually you see it at the very start of the cryogen process with John Spartan.
So, in a way, it's supposed to be like concentrated liquid nitrogen, or like what is it supposed to be? But anyway, this is also when John Spartan says a line.
Oh yeah, he has a
little bit cold in here.
So they fight. He does the thing with the plasma. Doesn't hit him. He throws it to the floor, and he's annoyed. Now, when you see the action part, it seems like they're very far away, and when I'm going to try and get to that specific part because it bothered me to no end.
No, because when
there's another thing before we head on.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks back, we talked about Hot Fuzz and when they were jumping in the air with the two guns.
Bang, bang, yeah.
Yeah. This is where John Spartan also jumps with the two guns. And I was like, all my feelings is going to say something about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, there's a lot of butts in this piece, but no cock and balls.
Yeah.
Because whatever, I guess.
I was gonna say what bugged me too is in the scene at the end where you have Simon Phoenix here, you have John Spartan here. John Spartan's on the ground.
Yeah.
Phoenix is going for what they would call a melee kill. So he has at least about, I would say, anywhere between 5 to 8 yards to go.
You mean this?
Yeah. When the drop comes in, he's here all of a sudden.
Yeah, I know.
Huh?
Exactly. And this is where like Simon is, you can see Simon is full of liquids, basically water or whatever liquid it is. And it's like John is looking, everyone's like, is it cold in here or is it just me? And Simon goes, good memory.
Good callback.
Good memory.
Yeah.
But yeah,
good stuff.
They have a tussle, which Simon is superior because whatever. And for some reason, I want to get to that point because there's a few things that really bothered me that I don't know how they made it through the
editing
script.
Room? Yeah.
No, or the editing bit, because it seems legitimately stupid. Yeah. Along with like Lenina Huxley knowing how to fight or knowing how to drive and all that. You can cut corners in that one. So again, I want to get to a specific point. So John Spartan is on the ground. On the other side where we can't see, there's that rod with the super freeze liquid. and Simon is standing above him with a spear or a rod of some sort. Doing this takes seconds. Taking a thing from here to on the floor on the other side takes more time. You got a bit of a set piece problem here, man.
Well, not to mention the fact that with the close proximity, with how it fast freezes everything. Sorry, would have got you too.
Would have gotten him too as well.
No,
exactly.
No way. Especially since he is actually on the ground when he breaks it.
Yeah.
Simon is on his feet. Simon should have been the one who jumped up and survived.
I know. Because if he would have jumped up a little bit, it was done. He wouldn't have been frozen. But again, I want to harken back to a lot of early 90s movies, a lot of them, including Lethal Weapon 2, including the Steven Seagal movies, including the Van Damme movies, including not really the early Bruce Willis movies, but yeah, also them, did not make a whole bit of sense if you'd have sit through and dissected it frame by frame like we do. It was a lot of the things we would expect a modern movie to consider.
Yeah.
They just didn't consider them because they just wanted action. It's suspend your disbelief. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Because whatever. We're at the 1 hour 40 mark. We have to wrap it up, boys. We have to wrap it up. So anything is resolved super quick, super fast. But yeah. So Simon gets frozen and gets his head cut off and then exploded T2 style, I would say. And the cryo prison goes up in flame because he froze everything. So everything explodes into flame. It was apparently. And we get to the point where both the police chief and the scraps are outside. And of course,
what the hell do we do now?
Yeah. So first of all, Bob changes allegiance once more into Edgar Friendly because he doesn't go into the police chief.
No, this is after. We're just like, well, actually, when they're all out there, they're like, well, the police chief is asking John, is like, so what do we do now? And he goes, I don't know. It seems like Edgar might have maybe some good ideas. That's when Bob goes, well, sir, how can I be of assistance to you?
Hi, sir. I'm Estician Bob. I was like, Bob, first of all, what we're going to talk to you about is your clothing.
Yeah.
Is the robes. Let's start with your robes. But before that, the one thing I loved, and I did put it in the short, because it actually builds up my memory of the movie, is he says to the police chief, you need to get a little bit dirty and Edgar Friendly needs to be a lot clean.
Yeah.
And somewhere in the middle, you're going to figure it out. It's like, you're going to figure it out.
Yep.
And that's actually a lesson to everybody. It's like, you don't have to be squeaky clean, but you don't have to be messed up fucking anarchy and dirty jello, naked jello in the streets.
It doesn't matter where you lie on whatever the political or religious system or whatever kind of belief system exists. You can't be too far in this way or you can't be too far in this way. You have to find some kind of common ground somewhere. Otherwise, it all kind of falls apart.
The whole thing about you cannot be, if we're going to put it on the spectrum of, I don't want to say conservative and liberal. I would say authoritarian and complete liberal, as like free liberal, not like
I would say authoritarian and anarchist.
Anarchist, yeah, I would say, anarchist.
Those are the two that are diametrically opposed.
Yeah, anarchist. Anarchist is a better word. So somewhere in the middle. Not, I'm not saying super close, but let's say somewhere here, there is a give and take
So,
that both sides can live with.
Consider a giant Venn diagram. The two overlap in a very large area, and you can be in that
it's not
spectrum.
really
Everything works okay.
There's no specific point where you can say, okay, at this point, everybody agrees. There's a certain bubble, a certain range of things that you can go a little bit this way, and you can go a little bit that way. And I want to harken back to something that is completely off kilter. Something from Chris Rock's early performances. He said that in some ways I'm liberal, and in some ways I'm conservative.
I know exactly where you're going.
I think he says, I think it's abortion, I'm liberal. I think he says abortion, I'm conservative about, or guns, I'm conservative about. Prostitution, I'm liberal, which is like, there is no I'm this or I'm that. I'm somewhere in the middle. Some things I'm more authoritative about, and some things I'm more anarchist about. Not really anarchist and authoritarian, but more conservative about. Some things I'm more liberal about. And the subjects for each individual kind of changes, and that's what makes us a person. Not really diametrically opposed. And if you're diametrically opposed, you're not really with us, I would say. You're too far gone. You're too far gone into one way. And that's Cocteau, on the other hand. And by the way, Simon Phoenix, maybe even Edgar Friendly at a certain point of view.
I wouldn't say Edgar Friendly. I would say Simon Phoenix. Simon Phoenix for sure. Like I wanted to kind of rule my own thing, but also I want to destroy absolutely everything that's organized.
Yeah.
With Edgar Freely was more just, I want to feed these people, and we want to be seen as people. There is there's a really big difference between the two.
Okay, you got me there. But anything else? Because this is basically the end of the movie.
No, I'd say like the last bit again. Sylvester Stallone actually does finally just kiss Sanda Bullock's character. And she said
it's sort of a resolution between.
And she said, "Are all other fluid exchanges this pleasurable?" Just you have no idea. And he goes, "I think I'm gonna like the future." And the last words he says are what?
No, I don't know.
Could you just? I just have one question though. Can you please tell me how those
how to use the three seashells? And it just ends there. You never get a resolution about the three seashells, man. It absolutely is. Now, apart from everything that we took apart, like broke down, and things that didn't make sense. Apart from that, when I watched it at the time, I loved it for what it is. Same way as you said, with the writers not going into more political thing. But today I appreciate it at a much higher level. I kind of let those things go. The fight scenes and the set piece scenes, I can let go of them. And I like the more meaning of what it is to be controlled by certain morality clauses and that sort of thing. Something that is not really prevalent in my personal life, in my personal country, in a way, but I see it very much today. And I've seen it even 10 years ago in America, or at least what it projects to me, because I do consume a lot of American culture. You can tell by my accent even. I do consume a lot of American culture. I know what's going on. I know what is a conservative. I know what is a Republican. And sometimes there is a difference between the two. Sometimes. I am well aware of certain aspects of politics. I know of there's a lot of, I would say, a lot of criticism towards how do I say it? The big tech companies, and I think Cocteau really represents a lot of, not really government, he more represents the a technocrat, I would say. He's a very technocrat kind of individual, and technocrats are more authoritarian. And I would say there's a lot of, I would say, in the terms of service of certain websites, including this website, the YouTube website, it's very much prevalent. Now, you would say a normal person, a normie would say, well, yeah, the terms of service is there because people don't know how to control their language, don't know when not to say the N word, don't know when not to say the F word or the R word or whatever.
Yeah, but
the fucking B word, okay?
That's what we call a slippery slope.
Exactly.
Friend.
And that's how I see it, where it you can say, okay, not the N word, I understand. Not this word, I understand.
Yep.
What is the next word I cannot say? And that's the slippery
and the next
slope.
word, and the next word. Same
And
thing, like, well, again,
exactly,
when it comes to like even DMCA, even before like you could actually show, if we had done this 10 years ago,
you would actually show
clips.
Like, I don't want to show the whole movie. It's not, I don't want to show the whole movie. I respect the copyright. I respect the people who made the movie, but I cannot show blood on YouTube. I cannot show even nudity on, which is not, I don't mean porn. I mean, in this movie, you have
that one scene.
Scene,
John,
which is, there's one scene of not even gratuitous nudity. There is no, I don't think, I mean, Sandra Bullock's character does wear a dress that is a little bit revealing, but not.
Yeah, but nothing. No.
Nothing
even in
major.
the faux sex scene, there's kind of a scene where there's a flash.
Yeah, she wears a full robe,
but she's covered up too.
She's covered up to the hands. Plus, she doesn't have a massive cleavage. It's very much covered. I didn't.
I mean, in the flashes in his brain.
Oh, in the flashes, you see bits of her upper body, but not really.
Nothing too
really
like
sexual.
No, there's something really risque.
3 frames and then something else, and you can hear moaning, which is very much like sex-like, but not really. But you cannot show that on the YouTubes as well, or on Twitter, yes, but whatever. The point is where to know where it is.
So
and
we're
very much like in the world of advertiser friendly, which is basically 50s.
And that's where it is. Like the line, it just keeps shifting and shifting and shifting and shifting and shifting and shifting
towards where we're going, towards where Cocteau is. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but I don't know, 20 years, maybe 10 years, depending on where you're sitting on the whole. I know I'm trying not to involve too much politics in this, and very much I want to stay out of the whole.
If that becomes overtly
culture
prevalent,
wars, it's not really my thing. But sometimes it does bother me. It does. Yeah. It does bother me as a consumer of American culture. Very much so. All right, so,
but I was going to just add one thing. I did find it funny that we did 2 films back to back that both are, one was a clear satire, on American culture.
Yes.
The other one was an accidental one.
I know. It's so weird that Idiocracy was a lot of Mike Judge's satire. You know, Mike Judge, who did Futurama. Sorry,
I will never let you. No,
you're never
let that down.
I'm not going to let myself go with this. But Mike Judge satire on American politics, basically George Bush's politics, not really today's politics, but yeah. And this one is inadvertently become some people's way of looking at what's going on today. And yes, it does make some sense of what is going on. Whether or not you agree with it or not, that is open to interpretation. Of course, comment section down below. Please share your thoughts with us. Good, bad, or just don't go into Twitter
just don't
wars.
Go on.
Don't go into Twitter wars
crazy,
because
okay?
I don't like it. I don't like it. All right. We end every single podcast, apart from the ones that I couldn't do, with the short. And of course, next week we'll definitely won't have a short because
oh boy, it's gonna be a fun one because
all right, let's do this one. The short version of Demolition Man. It's gonna start as soon as I click this button.
Okay, here we go. The short version.
Phoenix! Is it hot in here, or is it just me? Teddy bear. Murder, death, kill. Murder, death, kill. We're police officers. We're not equipped to handle this. In the end, it took just one man. John Spartan. Yo, give me a Marlboro. You're out of toilet paper. He doesn't know how to use the 3 seashells. Someone put me back in the fridge. What seems to be your boggle? Does this thing actually work? Spartan? John Spartan? They let everybody into this century. Don't you have someone to kill? We just need for another code to go red. Hold it. The Schwarzenegger library? Ah, smells like biscuits and gravy. All restaurants are now Pizza Hut? No way. What would you say if I called you a brutish fossil? I don't know. Thanks? Exactamundo. I was wondering if you like to have sex. I mean, boning, the hunka chunka. I'm a seamstress? If you think you've got this maniac under control, trust me, you don't. Let's blow this guy away. Blow this guy away. Rat. This is a rat burger. I'm no leader. I do what I have to do. I'm flattered. Don't be flattered. Be frightened. Break, you Mickey Mouse piece of shit! Chief, you can take this job and you can shovel it. You can't take people's rights to be assholes. Rest in peace, Raymond Cocteau. Is it cold in here? Or is it just me? You get a little dirty, you a lot clean, and somewhere in the middle, you'll figure it out. And that is it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Comment section down below for your thoughts. If you want to pester me on Instagram, which is supposed to be A and not E because I don't know how to spell, it's Meffistoe79. You can follow me there, or you can follow me on Twitter and pester me there. My DMs are open to one and all. If you have any movie suggestions, comments about for a former podcast, things that you think we should have covered and haven't covered, please let me know. Pester me if you want. I will answer anyone and everyone to my own detriment. And also, next week is a special episode where I try to make it under 2 hours again and maybe even fail, but I have very little input to say about this next movie. This next movie is very, very easy. If you have Netflix, you can go on your Netflix right now. It is a movie called I'm Thinking About Ending Things. I literally said it. I said it maybe live, but I've said it many, many times offline. I'm having the hardest time to getting through this movie. I technically only watched an hour of 20 out of an hour 40 of this movie. Very, very tough watch. I beg of you, go and watch it. Go give Netflix to put it on trending if you want. Go watch this movie. Very interesting movie to watch. Yes, and go watch it. We'll discuss it next week, and I promise you there will not be a short because
the short will be. So here's what. Oh, this is actually.
It's going to be like 20 seconds long, maybe.
Oh, that's sad, Finn.
Yeah, exactly. But it is a movie that was recommended to me from All My Feelings, and I did really trust. Good movie. I trust his judgment. Therefore, I'm going to watch it to the fullest. By the way,
and anyone in the audience, if you've seen Eternal Sunshine of Spotless Mind, it's by the same author. It's a great film. It's a really great film.
don't let my initial feelings destroy your enjoyment of this movie. Go ahead, go watch it with an open mind. And if you dislike this movie, please come back live, 8 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. Eastern, and 12 p.m. Pacific live. Join us in the audience and give us your full thoughts. So all my feelings will know how much glorious is this movie. Never mind. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you farewell, goodbye, and enjoy the movies.